colleague Armando Alas.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here this Tuesday, and looking forward to another edition to our LaunchPad webinar. And 2 more weeks before we see some of the ICs at the ENI, so excited about that as well. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
Good stuff. Great. All right, guys. So let's get started with our LaunchPad webinar series. I see the attendance being pretty good in spite of the fact that there's Google Alliance webinar happening with the home office team. So I definitely appreciate everybody taking time out and joining us live on our webinar today. That's terrific. We're going to be following our usual format. So we'll start off with our latest news and articles. And then we have a really cool tool that we want to review with you. It's the Google Display Planner tool. So we're going to be reviewing that in our webinar today. And then, of course, finishing off any questions that we may have. Okay, so let's get started. So let's start off with some bright news. So the company Bright Local, as you know, they do a lot of cool surveys, and they're a local, they're a company that offers local optimization tools. So Bright Local did an SEO survey recently where they interviewed about close to 200 local SEO companies, and they asked them a whole bunch of different questions, a whole series of questions. One of the questions that they asked them was, do you expect to grow your business in the next 12 months? And 93% of the respondents said, yes, we expect to grow in the next 12 months. And 70% of the agencies responded back by saying they were planning to hire more staff in the next coming year. So that's definitely a very positive sign for our industry, again, just a reinforcement that we are definitely in the right place at the right time. It's just a matter of now plugging away and working the business. The business is definitely out there. And this is reiterated by the industry as well. And it was a pretty comprehensive survey. You had about 200 people that responded to this particular survey. Great. So I wanted to start off on a bright positive note. Let's go to the next one. So Search Metrics, again, is an agency that releases a lot of good information, a lot of data sets. And over the course of the past couple of years, they've launched their SEO ranking factor study, which is in stark contrast to the ranking study, the more famous ranking study that's done by Moz, and they publish that every year, and also David Mims' local search ranking factor study. So Search Metrics is kind of like set up a parallel, and they also come up with their SEO ranking factors, and they've just released their latest SEO ranking factor study for 2014. And the links right here below in the presentation here, it's on Search Engine Alliance. That's where it's being showcased. Let's take a quick look at what the study says. So we're just going to take a top-level overview of what the study really talks about in terms of importance. So one of the things that's standing out in their research, and again, they did a pretty comprehensive research. They looked at over 1,000 or so websites, and if you're interested, you can click on the full link on their website and Search Metrics and see how they came up with this analysis and data. But they looked at a whole bunch of different sites, different data points, and then came up with these following observations. So one of the observations that they came up with was with relation to content. They mentioned the fact that there's definitely a measurable correlation with the quality of content and the rankings. That means the sites that are getting ranked high in the top 5 or the top 10 consistently have good quality content, as opposed to just spammy or a whole bunch of words put together that don't necessarily make a lot of sense or provide the user a lot of value. So there's definitely a correlation with the relevancy as well as the quality of the content that's on the sites in top 10. Gone are the days when you could just spam your way into the top positions in Google. The other interesting thing that they mentioned was that the length of the content is continually increasing for the sites that are ranking on the top. Something to definitely take into account, because normally when people would write content, they'd be writing content in the range of about, let's say, 400 to 500 words. If you were writing a blog post, you'd probably be writing about 300 to 400 words. What they're seeing is a consistent pattern of sites that are ranking at the top having higher content length, which means, and this kind of correlates with a survey that, as a matter of fact, not a survey, but an observation that Neil Patel had done on quicksprout.com in his blog, and he posted the fact that when you look at the sites that are ranking in the top 3 or the top 4, the average content length for those sites that are ranking in those positions is between 2,000 and 2,500 words. So Google's loving detailed analytical responses to queries that the users are looking for. So there's definitely a relevance there. Now, this doesn't mean that you go out there and start writing 2,500 words on every single topic or keyword that you're looking for, but it's more about when you're addressing certain topics that are very relevant, that are important for your business, your client's business. It's the more the content, the better. Unfortunately, in my opinion, this is not the best of trends because we all know that visitors have a really short attention span. Now imagine giving them a 2,500 word essay to read up on the content that they're looking for. So it's going to get more and more challenging to grab the visitor's attention and have this fine balance between satisfying Google and getting conversions at the same time. So you really have to start getting very innovative when it comes to positioning the content. Perhaps a lot of visuals, a lot of images that are accompanying this huge amount of content that's going up there, which is what Google's tending to like. So that is an important factor. Another important factor is a good internal linking structure. That is one of the most underrated SEO techniques according to the study. If you have a good internal linking structure, which means that when you have people coming onto your website, your visitors coming to your website, and they come to a particular page, you're linking that article or that page to specific areas on your website. And it's good for a few different reasons. One, Google's liking it. And two, you're also increasing the stickiness factor for your website. So people tend to stick onto your website longer. They click on relevant links one after the other. So they're increasing their average time on your website, which is great. The other thing that the study talks about is the on-page technical SEO continues to be very important. You cannot have a site that's ranking in the top without proper titles or descriptions or H1 or H2 tags, so that's very important. Speed's another very important factor, so I think by now we've covered some of the tools by which you can look at your site speed on a regular basis. The Google Page Speed Insights tool is one. And then you have the GT Metrics report. These are all free tools that you can utilize for your website, and you can see how quickly your site is loading up or how slow your website is. And that's becoming an important factor from an indexing perspective. Google doesn't want sites that are ranking high that are taking a huge amount of time to load up. Good site architecture is definitely the beginning and the end of effective SEO. That's what the study talks about. Don't have dynamic URLs with question marks and numbers. Have specific keyword-rich URLs. Backlinks. The study talks about the fact that the quantity and especially the quality of backlinks remains important, something that we're all aware of. And the number of keyword backlinks continues to decrease, which means to not build a lot of links that are specific to a particular keyword pointing back to your website. Mix that in if you're doing link building. Mix that in with generic brand mentions. Brand links, right? So whatever your company name is, make sure that you have a lot of links with your company name that are pointing back to your website because, again, Google's getting smarter and smarter. And if you do build a lot of links that are specific to a particular keyword, Google will know pretty quickly that you're trying to spam your way up in the rankings. So the other change was social signals. So according to search metrics, social signals were very important probably a couple of years back when Google started paying a lot of attention to it. But it started to get a spammy tactic where you have, and again, I don't want to take any names over here, but there's some leading link building companies in the US that are using some very shady tactics. As a matter of fact, there's this company which is actually the #1 link building company in the US right now based on their reputation. And we recently did an audit on some of the links that they were building. And they have this package called the Social Boost. And in the Social Boost, they basically were getting your content liked or followed in different social media channels and social media accounts. But when we actually looked and did an audit for all these social media accounts, they were all just spammy accounts. So it was pretty disheartening to see, I would say, the most recognized link building agency in the US. And these guys presented a lot of top conferences and everything doing work like that. So social signals used to be great, but no, it's getting lesser and lesser relevant because of some of these tactics that the industry has started deploying for manipulating social signals. In terms of user signals, both the click-through rate and the time on site are considerably higher in terms of ranking sites. This this is a very important factor, and which is where the internal linking comes into play, so as to improve the visibility of content in your website, so that the visitors, whatever they're searching for, can find it and keep continuously keep browsing your website. The bounce rate they also identified was lower for the top ranked URLs. And then another important thing that came out of the search metrics study is the fact that branded websites, so if you have a big brand, there's a sort of a special consideration for big brands. So they don't necessarily have the same rules that are guiding small local businesses that are necessarily not the big brands. There seems to be a special consideration for the big brands separately. And they talk about the fact that the brand factor and its definition has been revised this year to show the increasing complexity of its influence and the quality overall. So if you're a brand, definitely a little bit you're better for you. So all of this is encapsulated in a nice little infographic at the bottom here. So I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to open up a bit bigger so everybody can see it properly. So here's a nice little infographic that they've positioned out here for their ranking factors 2014 study that they conducted. And we've covered some of the major identifiers that they talked about. But if you want to dive in and get some more information, then you can definitely go to the Search Metrics website. And then this is a pretty cool infographic to kind of showcase on a blog post or on your website. We'd be putting this up on K2 as well at the end of this webinar. Great. All right. So moving on. The other information, the news item for this week is to do with the Bing image widget, which was pretty cool, and a lot of the ICs love this feature, and we got a lot of follow-up questions at the end of our previous webinar on this image widget feature, because basically what this allowed you to do was to just with a short piece of code embed dynamic slideshows onto your website, and they'd be pulling images from Bing randomly based on the keywords that you typed in. Really, really cool feature. However, here's the latest on this. What's happened is that as soon as the Bing image widget went online, Getty, which is a huge image company, filed a massive lawsuit on Bing for massive copyright infringement. Apparently, what was happening was that the Getty images that were indexed by Bing were being pulled into these slideshows, and people were using it, and Getty's like, hang on a second, hey, we aren't getting any money for this, so why do we allow people to use it on their slideshows, right? So basically what happened was that Bing image widget, this feature is being pulled down. Within 24 hours, the feature was pulled down as soon as Getty filed that infringement. And one of the Bing sources was quoted as saying that they're in discussions with Getty to try and understand what their issues are with this, and trying to resolve it so that they can get this feature back up. But I think this is a fantastic feature. If they can get this resolved, this is going to be so cool. And they can even potentially monetize this, right? Because it's such a cool feature, and we know that everybody's always struggling for like dynamic slideshows, cool slideshows, and here's a way to like really incorporate this in your website and make it stand out. So hopefully this issue gets resolved and we get this feature back, because there was a lot of buzz about this feature and we were loving it. All right, so moving on. So take a look at this screenshot. It's not very clear, but hopefully you can see the individual graphs that we've put together over here. And this is just going along the lines of some best practices after the post-Pigeon update. Now, as you know, the Pigeon update was the latest Google update that Google had done probably about a month back, and that impacted some of the larger directory sites. It actually favored them, ranked them better and higher. So here's some proof and some examples. So this data set for some of the bigger directory sites has been pulled from SEMrush, and you can see as to what's happened to the rankings after the Pigeon update. See Yellow Pages here, it was up, it went down, and now it started stabilizing and getting back up. Super Pages definitely benefited. Yellow Book benefited. Insider Pages definitely benefited. Smart Pages, look at that. Smart Pages is business. I mean, it was literally dying around May or June. I mean, they had barely, relatively not a lot of keywords ranking. And then look at what happened to it after between July and September. Just skyrocketed. The same thing with Manta. Things skyrocketed between July and September. And then you move on to some other sites in specific verticals like Angie's List. You look at the BBB. You look at Yelp, and you look at Home Advisor. As you can see, all of these directories are now benefiting by having more and more keywords ranked in the top 20 in Google. All right, so this is a clear indication post-pigeon that the directory sites definitely got a benefit. How can you benefit out of directory sites? We discussed this in one of our previous webinars as well, which was to deploy the Barnacle SEO strategy. And the Barnacle strategy is all about making sure that, let's say, if you're a lawyer in Philadelphia and you type in, let's say, child custody lawyer Philadelphia, and you see super pages coming up there in the top 3 results in Google. Now, if you're a small site, what's the likelihood that you're going to beat super pages? Not that likely, right? So what's the next best thing that you can do? The next best thing that you can do is make sure that it's your profile within super pages that actually comes in at that top, and not just a generic super pages page from Philadelphia. You want to make sure that it's your website, it's your profile within super pages that's ranking in the top 3 or top 4 positions in Google. How do you do that? Again, the whole aspect of Barnacle SEO is to actually even do some link building for the directory pages that are associated with your website in some of these bigger sites. And then you actually build links to your specific subpages within these sites, so that this way you can actually give your listing a boost. So if they do show Yellow Pages, if they do show Manta in the top 3, then it's your website within Manta or super pages that's coming in at the top, and you get the the positive benefits of people looking at your listing and then hopefully contacting you through your listing. So this is definitely getting more and more relevant, and this is the proof right here. As you can see, a lot of these directory sites have gained a lot of good traction after the pigeon update. We're getting a couple questions here, so I'll definitely address the questions at the end of this webinar. So the YouTube keyword tool, we again showcased this tool, which is a very cool tool to try and identify trends and see what was going on with regards to keywords that people were searching for or topics that people were searching for in YouTube. That's been phased out. So Google's phasing out the YouTube keyword tool, and what they're replacing it with is the AdWords Display Planner tool. Now, the AdWords Display Planner tool has always been there. It's a great tool for any sort of media buying or any display advertising that you want to do, but they've made it a little more robust with a lot more features. And this is the tool that we will be reviewing in our Tool of the Week section today, so definitely stay tuned for that. We have our full review of this tool coming up. So the YouTube keyword tool, in case you're looking for it, it's no longer available for any sort of research or any data points. So you now have to use the AdWords Display Planner tool. Okay, moving out. So here's a new feature that Google's rolled out for their PPC campaigns, and we absolutely just love this feature. It's called the Callout Ad Extensions. So they've recently rolled out this new ad extensions, basically offering more text and search ads. Now, you might be thinking this is great for us as the clients, and we get some more real estate in Google because we can do a lot more stuff. Rest assured, it's also good for Google, right? Because they're trying to increase their clicks, Google has more money for them. They don't really make any money out of organic, right? So the call-out ad extensions are the latest innovation when it comes to ad extensions. And for the ICs that are logged on that are doing PPC advertising, I don't need to stress the importance, the benefit, and the fantastic click-through rates and conversions that ad extensions can basically get you if you deploy them for your PPC campaigns. Now, if you're not deploying ad extensions for your campaigns, I suggest that you have a pretty serious talk with your PPC providers, because ad extensions are generating a huge amount of traction. So ad extensions there's a variety of different ad extensions that you can utilize for your campaign. There's location extensions where you can highlight your location in the ad itself. That tells a visitor as to where exactly you're located. So if you're close to them, then they have more probability of clicking onto your ad and engaging with you. You can have site link extensions. In this case, in this ad, if you look at my screen, you'll see they have daily deals, laptops, smartphones, gift cards. These are all site link extensions. Where you actually click on each of these links, they'll take you to specific pages on the website so as to drive more targeted traffic. So there's location, there's site link extensions, there's call extensions where you can put in your telephone number directly in the ad. So there's a few different extensions that you can utilize. And now the call-out extensions are the latest ones that have been added on, where the whole idea is if you have specific offers to promote, like for example, you have free shipping, around the 24/7 customer service, you do some price matching, or you have some amazing, amazing offer that's being put out there for your visitors, your customers. That's when you can use these call-out ad extensions and deploy them. And interesting timing too, because they're coming up with this feature right before Christmas. So that's going to be a nice little buffer for Google there, with a lot more click-through rates on their PPC ads. So interesting timing. But again, if you are doing PPC advertising, this is a really cool new rollout that's been done with the call-out ad extensions. Do definitely take advantage of this, because it's known to give really, really high click-through rates and some good conversion rates by utilizing ad extensions in your ads. Okay, so another reminder about us at the Global Convention in Boca. So we definitely wanted to remind everybody that we are going to be present at Boca in Florida. So if you want to set up one-on-one meetings with us, with Armando or myself, please definitely do so. You can put in a request to us, just email us and set up the meetings. We'd love to sit down with you and discuss your business, your franchise, your goals, and how we potentially can help you out. Armando, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely, like you're saying, I know that I've been speaking with some of the ICs already in regards to even spending 15 minutes with them and really not only just learning more about the business, but really getting down to some of the projects that you may be having for 2014, 2015, and even at the level of business goals that you would like us to assist you with. So it also gives us an opportunity to learn more about you and the business, as well as I've previously mentioned. Right now, we're in the process of launching a specific IC partnership program to qualified ICs. It's going to be a very exclusive club in essence. And that'll be a great way to discuss it and see if it makes sense, if it's a win-win situation, if we can work together within the IC partnership program. But definitely, I am already scheduling myself to speak with IC. So if you want to learn more about how we can help you, how we can offer you specific services, to getting more into details of your business, for sure, we're going to be open to speaking at E&I.
Great. Thanks, Armando. So just moving on here. Actually, it's your turn, Armando, so over to the case study that we have for the week.
Okay, excellent. So for today's case study, definitely shows a foundational SEO program. It's actually a company out of the U.S., VE South Vending Marketplace.com. And there was a few reasons why I chose this case study. One of them was given the fact that sometimes we do have clients that can provide specific challenges, and also how to deal with them, and also how to properly attack or strategically optimize an e-commerce website as well. And in this case scenario, that's what we have here with VESouthVendingMarketplace.com. Basically what they're an online source for coffee and vending machines and products, and their main focus has been mainly in the state of Florida and the U.S., the Caribbean, and South and Central America. That's been their major markets, if you will. They do have an e-commerce solution, and when they approached us back in probably November, December last year, we started pretty much working with them. They were having a lot of challenges in regards to their online sales and generating organic traffic, generating any sales from their website to do with their search engine optimization strategies. It is a small business, so the business owner is very, very active in the marketing campaigns, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But definitely it's a small business, and they didn't really know how to properly optimize an e-commerce solution. What was the right way of doing it? So they came to us because they were not getting any leads. Part of the website also to capture leads for individuals who are looking at a business opportunity, but the priority here was really to focus on promoting specific brands and products, so and being able to sell online. So we kind of went in there with that main goal, to focus one step at a time on the different challenges they were having and address them as we could, based again on their budget, because we can provide them with everything, but they weren't ready because the budget was limited. In addition, the client was doing direct mail and has been doing some email marketing campaigns, but he wasn't really tying or connecting everything down with his website. There was some mixed messages, or let's say promotions, that weren't working, and basically he wanted to see how we can improve the performance of his website by also taking a look at their existing email marketing strategy, and how we can, tie it into the products that he wanted to promote. So that's what he had wanted us to work with as well. And the other key thing here was he wanted us to focus on specific keywords, but as well, the challenge that we're having with him is that, he was very hands-on. This is, and I'm pretty sure many of you have had business owners very similar, where they take pride of their work, and he had been kind of managing the website. He was very involved in the direct mail and email marketing, so we had to be very tactful in the way we approach them, because the last thing you want to kind of do is make them feel bad about what they're doing. So you have to be very specific and understand where they're coming from, what they're doing. But definitely he was very a bit over hands-on into the project. So we had a lot of patience and education to go through. And even though we have been working with them for approximately 9 to 10 probably months now, it has been a bit of a slow progress working with the client. There has been a few challenges that we've had to overcome, but at the end of the day, we're kind of now seeing that he's finally, there was there was a level of trust that he wanted us to build with him, and I guess because of the past he's been burnt by other SEO companies, he kind of wanted to put us through all these hurdles to make sure that we were the right company doing the SEO for him. So a lot of patience and dedication, I can tell you, and sometimes the SEO coordinators, I'm pretty sure they wanted to pull their hair, because it gets challenging working with clients like that. But you know what? We knew that at the end he wanted to grow his business. It was just a matter of having a bit of patience. Okay, so I talked to you a little bit about the challenges going into the situation. The solution that we provided with him was a foundational SEO package with obviously the on-page, the off-page optimization. At the time that we began this project, obviously adaptive SEO wasn't launched. This was back in November, December last year. But even so, he wouldn't have been ready for adaptive SEO, because he wasn't ready for social media. His content wasn't that great. We had to kind of take him 3 steps backwards to start kind of moving them, forward and preparing it. So hopefully in the next few months, we can now graduate him to adaptive SEO. Okay, so when we began working on his website, like I mentioned, it was an e-commerce solution, and we'll talk a little bit about what is the best strategy to do so. What we did was we went after his top selling categories and also specific products that he wanted to promote. We went after, I believe, about 10, 12 products, and we continuously focus on optimizing for them. And as opposed to going after 40, 50 products that he had on his existing website, we chose those products that we knew were going to generate the sales that he required. And in addition, added value, we kind of work with him in helping him better integrate his email marketing with his web activity. How to drive traffic, how to try to make have some key performance indicators and be able to have some visibility in regards to conversions coming from email marketing. Again, very tactfully working with him in this area. So now, as I'm going to show you in the next slide in a second, the next steps that we hope to do to take this client or graduate him to the next level is, now get to improve his website. As I said, he was very proud of his website. We wanted to do so many changes when we came in. We had a list of recommendations. Little by little, we've been kind of implementing them. But now we're at the level that we've developed that relationship, that he knows that he needs a bit better content overall in specific pages, and obviously stronger call to actions within the content and also within the website. Another important thing that we're going to be adapting very shortly is goal settings. And this is something very, very important also that I would recommend to ICs working with their clients in regards to conversion optimization, is the fact that you have to, set up goals in Google Analytics. And specifically with clients that they're very keen on seeing an ROI, you have to make sure that you do that. With our packages, at this stage, the goal conversion or the goal setting element is not part of it. It's an additional fee. It's very minimal compared to the value, the visibility that you give to the client. But at the same time, if you are pitching an SEO program to your clients, always try to include this option or try to upgrade them within, after 3 months that you've been doing the work, because it helps you really provide them with a visibility in regards to an ROI. And we have been trying to do that with them in regards to setting up goals in his e-commerce and trying to see how many sales are coming from SEO and email marketing and different campaigns that he was running. But again, you know what? Baby steps, right? We couldn't just do that because he would have gotten overwhelmed, and we did approach a couple times, and he wasn't ready. And the other component that we're going to be focusing on is on social media. Okay, so again, as much as we are trying to follow the best business practices of today, some clients may be a little bit behind, and that's okay. Your goal as a consultant is to bring them up to speed, to bring them up to today's standards in order for them to have better results on their website. So this is the case for Marketplace.com. Vinish, you can just go to the next slide, please. Okay, so with him, what we actually do is on a quarterly basis, we actually develop a 3-month report for him. And in this case, he can see, apart from the monthly reports that we do, we also like to do these quarterly reports for him so he can see the overall process of the website. Again, it's something that I would recommend ICs take the time to do on their quarterly reviews, or every 4 months, or every 3 months, or every 6 months. Apart from just a monthly, you want to show them what you've done and keep coming back. Now, ideally, you want to be able to be performing. Sometimes you're not performing, right? So in this case scenario, in the last report that we just completed recently, we actually measured the performance from July 17 to September 1 compared to May 31st and July 16. And overall, in working with them and actually focusing on more product-specific optimization, we've been able to definitely have some very good improvements on his website performance, or SEO performance, sorry. One of them is obviously 31% or 32% increase in overall traffic compared to the previous months. User also increased by 38%. Obviously, we have people more engaged on their page views, so people were reading more, and we're looking at more sites, more pages on his website, a 24% increase. And this is the next KPI that I always like to kind of go back and every time when I'm talking to the ICs, I always go back to two specific KPIs. One of them is the organic search, and that's very important because when you're looking at the traffic from organic search, it's really a measurement of your SEO, of the SEO work that we're doing right together. And because that includes your Google, your Yahoo, your Bing, which are the primary search engines. There may be some smaller search engines that this KPI includes, but it's very important that you kind of put that out there with your clients, so they understand that your organic search is either increasing or decreasing, but it's a good KPI to measure. In this case, it increased by 22%, so it's a good lift in traffic in the previous 3 months, right? Also, the second one, that we like to kind of look at internally is the Google organic traffic, which if you look it down, it's at 23 or 24%, right, and increase. So those are pretty good numbers to see that the site's coming up. And in doing so and being transparent with the client, at the same time, they become to trust you more, right? And now that's very important. Now I will tell you that when we measured the May 31st to July 16 in the previous 3 months, it wasn't that great. right? And that was because we were still working with the website, still SEO was still kicking in. You know, we were going after 10, 12 keywords, and you know, there was still time for improvement, but after we've kind of passed those 6-month period, you know, that's when now we're starting to see the lift. And again, the client also has been patient in the sense that, you know what, he knew that well, we educated him and we kept kind of talking to him about it, that SEO, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So far he's starting to see the results. And at the bottom, I mentioned that obviously the client has seen improvements in sales, otherwise we wouldn't be working with him. You know, every time we ask him, you know, he seems to be very happy. Unfortunately, at this stage, we can't really have an exact number on number of leads that he's been generating or number of online sales. This is something that that I would recommend that you would always ask for your client on a monthly basis, so you can add it to the reports. If you don't have goal conversions or goal settings on the website, that you keep tabs on your client and for them to try to provide you with some visibility in regards to conversions. It's not the greatest way, because at the end of the day, you know what, they may not follow up and they may not actually track these numbers. But it's also a way of keeping them also accountable from their end. Okay, and here are some keywords that that in the previous months we've been showing some improvement. There is a lot of work. For example, when you're looking at the second keyword there, that's taking a little bit of time to go down, and that's okay. You know, some keywords you're going to be able to optimize faster than others, and that just tells you where that the ones that are taking a little bit longer, you have to put more emphasis on the SEO strategy. So overall, you've seen that there's been that level of improvement, and the client is happy. Okay, so if you have a client in this area, in the area of selling coffee products, coffee sales, this will be a great case study that we can make available for you to share to your prospects. Okay. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to kind of share with you is, and now that I have Vinish here, is again, what is the best strategy or what are the best strategies to optimize an e-commerce website? You know, sometimes we get ICs that are asking us that because they may have 30, 40, 50 products. So how do you focus on them? Do you go after 50 keywords? Do you go after 40, 20, 10? Do you focus on the main pages? So Vinish, perhaps you could tell me a little bit about, you know, your experience on some of the best things or best business practices that you've seen have worked with, not just with this client, but with others.
No, that's a good question, Armando. E-commerce is always a very interesting aspect for SEOs because it's different than your your standard clients that are looking for localized or national exposure, because this is product-based SEO. So looking at this campaign and looking at e-commerce websites in general, there's three very distinct observations that stand out. The first observation is when your client is saying, let's just do a deal for 6 months, always push them towards a 12-month campaign, because 6 months, especially with all the new updates that Google's doing, is not enough to show a good ROI. Now, in certain instances, if the website's really, really bad and they have nothing done on the website, sure, you can definitely show some keyword improvement and some ranking increases over the course of even as quickly as month 2, month 3. But in our perspective, when you're looking and evaluating the success of an SEO campaign from a revenue generation and an ROI perspective, you always have to look at the investment over a 12-month period. Great. How much should you spend? So let's say that on an average you're spending $900 or $1,000 a month. So that means he spent $12,000 in SEO over the course of 12 months. What did he get out of it? How much money did he actually make out of it based on the leads that were generated over the course of 12 months? So for ROI measurement perspectives, always push the guy towards a 12-month campaign. If he's not flexible on that, then be innovative as far as your contract strategies are concerned, because you can always set up a contract for 12 months and give him an opt-out clause at the end of 6 months. So if the guy's not happy, he has the option to opt out at the end of 6 months. But always shoot for those 12-month contracts, those 12-month insertion orders. And again, as I mentioned, you can set it up in a way so that he definitely has an out at the end of 6 months. But from a marketing perspective, always look at 12-month campaigns. So that's one observation that's come out, because you can see, and as Armando pointed out, a lot of the traction in this campaign took place in month 7, month 8, month 9. That's where the client's seeing a lot of benefit from all of the work that's been done over the course of like 5 or 6 months, right? And even the coffee industry, which is not the easiest of industries to work in. Then the second observation that comes out as far as this campaign is concerned is that not all months are going to be equal. So even if you look at months 7, 8, and 9, you see that during months 7 and 8, you had 2 keywords that actually went down in their rankings. As a matter of fact, 3 keywords. You had cappuccino toppings drop, you had Lavazza blue capsules that dropped in rankings, and you also had coffee condiment dispenser that dropped in rankings from month 7 to month 8. However, when you look at month 9, every single keyword has either remained the same, stabilized, or has gotten better, right? And as a matter of fact, cappuccino toppings went up to the first position in month 9 for that keyword. And this is again something that the client has to understand, where not every month, not all months are created equal. You'll have some months where some keywords are going to go up, some keywords are going to go down, because you're not focusing on all keywords in all the months in terms of link building activity. You're picking and choosing keywords that you want to focus on. So that's another aspect that you want to clarify with your client and mention to them that, again, look at, it's like, when you're doing your financials. Do you look at your expenses on a month-to-month basis? Well, you kind of do, but I'm sure your accountant, if he's a smart accountant, he's advising you to look at all your expenses and your income statement on a quarterly basis, not on a month-to-month basis, because that's not how you run a business. You can't run a business and make educated business decisions based on how 1 month did in terms of your profitability. You look at a quarter, and in a quarter you evaluate your expenses and your income. So in a similar fashion, in SEO, don't evaluate on a month-to-month basis. Evaluate it over a quarter so you can make some educated decisions about how the campaign is really doing. So that was the second key point. And the third key point that I have to add as far as e-commerce website optimization is concerned is product descriptions. That is the #1 cause for failure for e-commerce campaigns, because they have, most of the products have their generic manufacturer descriptions if they are retailers. And like, for example, in the nutrition industry, we're dealing with a few different clients, and all of the clients basically have just copy-pasted the description of the product that's been provided by the manufacturer, not realizing that Google's giving weightage to that product description to the original site for the manufacturer, because that's the oldest description that Google can find about that product. So it's going to give that precedence over all these new retailer websites that are coming up that are just copying and pasting the description, product description for that product. Please come up with unique product descriptions for each product on the website that are different from anything else that somebody can find out there. Take twists in your product, like talk about ingredients, talk about offers, talk about shipping options that your site provides that the others do not. Make yourself stand out and unique. And that's why Google's going to crawl you better, they're going to optimize your products better, and they'll give you better positioning and ranking. So I'd say like those are the 3 main key highlights as far as e-commerce SEO is concerned.
Great. Thanks, Manish. Yep.
Terrific. Excellent. No, thanks for the case study, Armando. That was a great case study. Again, if you need more information on this case study, please get in touch with us, and we'll send you some more specific details on it. So moving into our tool of the week, I know we have a lot of questions queuing up, so definitely going to leave some time for questions. Let's really quickly touch base on the tool of the week. So as we mentioned to you that Google has phased out the YouTube tool, but they've replaced that with a Google AdWords Display Planner tool, which is a really cool tool if you want to do some display advertising, or you want to try and find websites in your vertical that might be of interest for advertising. So here's how you go about accessing this tool. You do need an AdWords account. Again, you don't need to have a campaign running. Like, for example, I'm just logged in with my email, and that's good enough. You can just go to google.com/AdWords, like right here. Let me access it again. So just go to google.com, and then just type in AdWords. When you type that in, it's going to log in automatically. So again, regardless of whether you have an AdWords campaign set up or not, it doesn't matter. You still have access to all these tools. So it's going to take you to a page like this. As you can see, there's no campaign set up with my email. And then you just go into Tools, and then you'll see a whole bunch of different tools over here. And then you go into the Display Planner tool. Now, if you want to use a Keyword Planner tool, you can use that as well, and that's Google's Keyword Suggestion tool, which is a great tool. Definitely recommend to use it. So what you do is you go into the display planner section, and it's going to open up the display planner tool for you. Very simple, intuitive interface. So there's different options that you have over here that you can do your research with. So you basically have get ideas and estimates. So this is based on your keywords in your website. So you can either use this option, or you can upload a previous plan. So if you had a previous display planner plan or an AdWords CSV file that you generated previously, and you want to do some more research based on that, you can just choose that file and upload a previous plan. If you want to find top placements by location, you can definitely find the top sites by location based on the impressions that they're getting. You can target different countries, different languages, different topics. Here's a very broad mix of all the different topics that are available. Anything from arts and entertainment all the way down to travel and sports, right? And then you also have the option to show only estimates for my targeting criteria. So you can actually enter in keywords, topics, interests, placements, all in one line. It gives you examples of how you can basically put in your search phrases. And then you can, again, upload a previous display planner and then get the estimates, right? For simplicity purposes, let's just look at the first option here. So let's say, let's say World Vision is my client. I think everybody's familiar with World Vision, right? So I'm interested in child sponsorship. So I type that in. And my website, let's say, is worldvision.com. Right? And then let's say I'm targeting the U.S. There's a whole bunch of different countries. You can select up to 10 locations. In this case, I've selected country, but you can actually select citywide as well, right? Campaign type, you either want to do a direct response or a branding campaign, so you'll be getting like different stats based on what you choose. So let's say for this example, I'm choosing direct response. Languages, you can choose up to 10 different languages. Different languages are supported. And then now you can get placement ideas. So all you do is just hit get placement ideas, and now the tool's going to start working, the display planner tool, and it's now compiling statistics for my landing page, which is worldvision.com, my keyword, which is child sponsorship, to show me what the available network inventory in Google is for this particular keyword search that I'm looking for in order to do some display advertising, right? So now you see that there's 10 billion plus impressions weekly that I could potentially be getting for this particular genre. There's the gender, devices. As you can see, mobile is definitely being searched more than desktop, 54% on mobile. And then what it actually gives me is a full breakdown of my placements, right? So if I look at some of the websites that are available for me to advertise on, there's Boredom Therapy, Click to Give, the Animal Rescue Site, Charity Navigator, a nonprofit, but about.com. So these are all sites that are potentially utilizing AdSense. So they're actually making money off Google, right, when people click on their ads in their website. But here's all the different websites that you can see that Google's basically. And you can see, I mean, it's pretty targeted. I mean, they pulled up some pretty good information based on the research that I put out there, right? You can search this information now by keywords. So you can see some of the keywords that Google considered when they were giving me these choices. They looked at my primary keyword, which was child sponsorship, and then they branched out into different keywords based on my primary keyword, looking at child sponsored charity, sponsor a child Africa, sponsor a child in need, etc., etc. Again, very, very targeted, right? So the algorithm is great. It's pulling some very relevant keywords. You can also look at interests, right? So what were the interest groups that my search was classified under, right? So you can see social issues, advocacy, people in society, etc., right? And you can look at topics, same thing. You can look at placements. These are the individual websites. So it's pulled 267 websites that might be of interest for me in order to advertise on, and it's given me 69 mobile apps that might be of interest for me, which is also cool because you can advertise on these mobile apps and have your ad appear as these mobile apps are either being downloaded or being looked at, right? So that's pretty cool. And so you get your placements here. You can look at remarketing opportunities. We don't have any remarketing set up, so that's why we don't have any data for that. We can look at demographics, see what demographic targeting is all about, right? So, and then you can also classify all of this information into ad groups that can directly be imported into your AdWords campaign if you have a campaign running once you do the research. So Google obviously makes it pretty easy for you to take all of this information and launch campaigns so you can start advertising and spending money utilizing their display network. So a great tool, gives you a lot of good information about the information out there in terms of the different opportunities and inventory that's available within Google's network for targeting display network interests. So this is the tool that's actually replaced the YouTube tool, but a pretty good, very comprehensive tool. There's a lot of information that you can get out of this tool. Fantastic. All right, so let's move into our Q&A section now, a little bit about us and our service offerings. And that's our contact information here. So I know we had a whole bunch of questions, so let's actually go into our Q&A session now. Okay, so Ned has a question. Ned actually has a couple of questions. So the first question that Ned has is, why is Google's always changing things? It seems like act versus react, spy versus spy, and things get so complicated that the whole regulatory structure will collapse. It is kind of crazy, Ned, but you know what? We are probably the culprits. Google tried to make a very clean search engine, but then of course trust us people to spoil it for them and create more issues for them, right? So, first they came up with a nice classification of meta tags where you had a title, keyword, and a description. If only we'd kept the keyword tag clean, it would have been so much easier for Google to classify sites based on the keyword tag. But of course, we have to spam that. So the SEO industry spammed that keyword tag like crazy. Google had to adapt because their results were getting maligned, right? So they want to have good results come up and show up. So, and so on and so forth. So they do a lot of stuff proactively, but unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that they have to react to as well because they can't preempt I would say the innovative nature of human beings, right? And the way that we find to break the interesting ways that we find to break the system, right? So Ned has another question on super pages. Can you actually buy keywords from super pages? So that's a good question. Here's what I'm going to show you. I think this is what the link to advertising with super pages is. I think it's advertising.superpages.com. I think this is it. Yes, it is. Okay, so this pulls you a whole bunch of different options that you can basically advertise with super pages. You got the priority placement. That's like showing up your listing. You got to pay something for it. So that's priority placement for you there. You can do display ads. You can do some PPC, reputation management, social media, and they're all provided by Dex Media, which is another internet marketing agency. Dex is also associated with Yellow Pages, right? So they do have a whole bunch of different options that you can do advertising on all these different properties, right? So that's their number right there. You can give them a call and see what some of their direct advertising options are. All right, so next question is from Paul. Can you please comment on Google Launch's ability to track website call conversions in AdWords? And then Paul also shoots across a link to the actual press release showcased in Search Engine Land. Very good question, Paul. We're testing this out right now. What Google's basically done is what companies like Mongoose Media and If by Phone offer right now as a service, which is to basically track what keyword is generating the actual conversion, generating the actual phone call. And the way that they do this, well, these companies, the way that they do it is that you basically put in a tracking code on your website, right? And once you put in that tracking code on your website, you have numbers that be dynamically generated associated with that particular click when somebody comes to your website, and then they basically see what kind of action was taken on that and let you know, hey, this keyword generated this call. And that's because they're continuously generating dynamic numbers. Google's now given us the ability to actually do that for free. So we don't necessarily have to pay an If by Phone or a Mongoose to have this tracking ability. We can utilize Google's website call conversions to do this. Now bear in mind that the other companies, If by Phone and Mongoose and all these other call tracking companies do have the advantage of the phone call being recorded. Google does not. You can't record calls over there, right? You can only get number-based data. And in essence, they're doing the same thing. So you take a piece of tracking code on your website, you put it on your website, and then what Google does is that, let's say it keeps that number for 90 days on your website. Okay. Let's say there's like, again, I'll use the example of let's say a baker in New York. So I'm typing on, I'm bidding on different keywords in New York. So I'm bidding on cheesecakes, I'm bidding on cookies, I'm bidding on a whole bunch of gingerbread, whatever, a whole bunch of different keywords. Every time that I click on an ad and I come to the bakery website, there's a unique number, telephone number that's getting generated. Okay, every time. And this number is associated with a forwarding number that I've given Google, saying, hey, all these numbers should essentially forward to this main line, which is the line that I'm responding to. That's the phone number that I'm picking up, right? So these are simply forwarding numbers. So every time that you click on an ad, it takes you to the website, and a unique forwarding number gets generated on that website that gets stored as a cookie for that visitor. So let's say if I clicked on your website as on your bakery website, and I typed in cheesecakes, or specials on cheesecakes, and I come to your website and I see a unique number. When I come back to your website, that same number is going to get displayed to me, which is not your usual number. It's that forwarding number, that tracking number that Google's generated. And then I can basically call that number, and it's going to get displayed to me for 90 days, that same number. And then I can call that number, and then I place the order, and now Google's tracked it because it was Google's forwarding number that I actually called, and then it routed to your actual telephone number. So that's the ability that Google now has to do the website call conversion tracking. Pretty cool, because I mean, we were paying for this feature before, right? And there's unlimited forwarding numbers that it can generate for you, and it stores the numbers for 90 days. Okay? Hopefully that clarifies. Daniel has a question on the webinar being recorded. Yes, it certainly is, Daniel, and we'll be circulating the link out in K2. If you can also visit our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/WSI. All of our LaunchPad webinars are recorded there. And Ned said, please disregard my first question. That's okay, Ned. We love sometimes to just complain even ourselves, right? It is kind of frustrating in terms of Google keeping us guessing. Now, what is cookies per week in the last graph? Oh, so cookies per week is how Google tracks interaction, and I think you're referring to the data set that was given by the Google Display Planner. So cookies per week is how many cookies is Google actually generating, right? So it's the number of cookies that it's putting into people's computers. So that means you know how many interactions you have and how many opportunities you have to target based on these cookies, right? So let's say if you're doing any sort of marketing activity, then you can look at a website and say, great, there's about 5,000 cookies that have been put onto this website, so we can potentially target 5,000 customers based on the number of cookies that have been put in. Hopefully that helps. Great. Any other questions? Awesome. Great. Well, thanks everyone. It's been a great session. Thanks for all the questions. Keep them coming. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to get in touch with us directly. This is our contact information right here. Otherwise, have a terrific week, and we'll be putting up this webinar recording very soon and circulating it out. Thanks everyone once again. Take care. Bye-bye.